Mortgage holders, of course, closely watching the Reserve Bank will find out soon enough if there is a 13th interest rate rise in just 15 months. Joining me live is Adelaide Timbrell, Senior Economist at ANZ. Thank you for your time. Do you share the seemingly diminishing view of a rate rise today? I think money markets have it at 16%, so more and more economists saying not going to happen today at least?
We're still calling a rate rise today. Although if we do see a pause, we still expect the Reserve Bank will have to hike at least twice at the end of this cycle, bringing the peak cash rate to 4.6%. I know a lot of people saw the latest monthly CPI figure, the headline of which came down starkly from 6.8% year on year in April to 5.6% in May. I think that may be a key factor bringing down market pricing. But we have to remember, a lot of data has come out since the Reserve Bank board met last, including incredibly strong employment growth, very resilient number of job ads and vacancies showing businesses want to hire more and more people, as well as a very concerning increase in unit labour costs in the GDP data that we got out earlier in the month. So, yeah, there's one figure that's really encouraging, but there's a bunch of other stuff out there that's actually really showing inflation as a continuing risk. And we think the response the Reserve Bank will need to take as a result is a hike. And if it doesn't happen today, I think it's very likely that we'll see an August hike, really either way.
Okay, interesting. Well, it's, we like a strong opinion and differing from the herd. Nothing wrong with that. The other factor, what do you make of this? Because a lot of talk today around infrastructure pipelines. So, when we have rate hikes, it's supposed to change behaviours of the economy, in particular on spending, but we've got infrastructure at state and federal level that's locked in, and those governments aren't going to stop that spending. Is that something that could keep rates stubbornly high, not even just now, but through the next couple of years, possibly?
Yeah, look, it is a really tricky one because on the one hand, there is a bit of crowding out that's occurring due to really strong government spending on infrastructure. The more we see spending there, the less space there is in terms of our workforce or construction materials for the private sector. But then on the other hand, we don't want to cancel a bunch of stuff and have it done halfway. So I know the federal government is going to be reviewing their next decade of infrastructure pipeline. I personally suspect there will be some cancellations there, partly due to inflationary pressures. But when we look at the construction sector more broadly, that's only one part of inflation. It is an important part. New home supply is something that not only affects the cost of constructing a home, but also affects the rate at which we get new homes on the market, which means the rate at which we can get some bargaining power back for renters. But overall, I think it's really just one part of the puzzle. And what we've seen in this current inflationary cycle is that prices of everything are going up. It's not just about construction. It's not just about fuel. It's about businesses looking out, seeing extra savings for enough households that they can raise prices without having to worry about not having enough customers. That's why the Reserve Bank does this. They're making it harder for everyone to spend money, particularly those in debt, particularly high income earners, so that businesses do have to work harder and actually eat those costs of doing business into profit margins rather than passing them on to the consumer.
Where do you sit as well? Because a lot of mortgage holders go, look, it's going to go up. We're getting told that a little bit more. But the big question about where it settles, and I guess really 2024, how much certainty do you think mortgage holders can have that we'll see a peak soon and we will see some form of reduction in the rate through 2024? Does that feel assured to you, or is that even a question mark?
Look, I think that the peak is coming soon. Our current forecast is 4.6% cash rate for the peak, which is 0.5 percentage points above the current rate. We don't think we'll see any rate cuts until late 2024. But I think, in the last 3 years, we've all learned that guarantees about the future have to be taken with a grain of salt. And what we've unfortunately seen in other economies is that inflation has started to come down and then it's actually re-accelerated. So I think really you wouldn't want to be, we don't want to have another period like 2020 where people were specifically told, oh, rates aren't going to go up for a few years. As much as I can give you my forecast, I think we have to be really agile and really take some preparation for things actually having to get worse or rates having to even go above that 4.6.
The difficulty for what the Reserve Bank is juggling is obviously wanting to avoid inflation an inflationary spiral, if you like, or that being sort of locked into expectations while trying to avoid a recession. Is there one extra element in their toolkit right now? Because you've got a huge number of people that will still come off fixed rate mortgages next year. So even though normally if you reduce rates, it takes a while, if you happen to reduce rates then, they'll never have to actually come off onto those super high rates and then slowly come off. That they'll have in their mind, if we go a bit hard, we can quickly unwind some of the pain in the economy next year.
Yeah, look, I think that if the Reserve Bank had the idea that they were going to go really hard, we probably would have seen a 50 basis point increase at some point this year. I think what they're trying to do is thread this very difficult needle through, making sure we're not creating unnecessary job loss, but also getting inflation under control. They have said over and over in their rhetoric that they have sacrificed some speed when it comes to getting inflation down in order to preserve job gains, but that sacrifice, I think, has become a little riskier now that we've just seen how persistent inflationary pressures can be. The higher they go, the quicker they are likely to cut. But given that most people on fixed rates, those super low fixed rates from 2020, are coming off kind of now or in the next 3 to 6 months, that I think most people who are on fixed rates are going to feel the pain of being at the top of that interest rate cycle on variable debt. We do think that there's going to be some considerable cuts in 2025. And I think that's something that we can be more assured of, that when it does hit late 2024 and through 2025, things will get easier for those people with debt.
All right. It's going to sound a long way off, but that's the uncertainty, I suppose. Adelaide Timbrell, thank you for your time.